Have you ever asked yourself why it feels like you're fighting alone while everyone else seems to have a team behind them? Why your messages go unanswered? Why your ideas get ignored? Why, when you finally decide to change your life, the room suddenly goes quiet? No applause, no encouragement, just silence. That silence hurts more than rejection, because rejection at least proves you were seen. Silence makes you feel invisible. And when you're invisible, doubt creeps in fast. It whispers that maybe you're not good enough. Maybe you're wrong. Maybe if no one supports you, it means you're not meant to succeed. But here's the truth most people never hear. The absence of support is not a sign you're failing. It's a sign you've stepped onto a path that requires strength most people don't have. We live in a world that celebrates results, not beginnings. People love the finish line. They love trophies, applause and stories told after the struggle is over. But they rarely show up for the early mornings, the lonely nights, or the slow progress no one can see. Support usually arrives late, sometimes too late. And if you don't understand this early, you'll quit before life ever has a chance to prove you right. Right now, you might feel like no one believes in you. Family doesn't understand your vision. Friends have moved on or grown distant. The people you expected to stand with you are nowhere to be found. That experience can either break you or forge you, and the difference depends on how you interpret it. Most people interpret zero support as rejection, as a verdict, as proof that their dream is unrealistic. But psychologically, humans look to others for confirmation when they are uncertain. When you seek approval, you hand your confidence away. You let people who are afraid of their own potential decide the limits of yours. Here's a powerful shift you need to make. The moment you stop expecting support, you stop being emotionally controlled. You stop waiting. You stop explaining yourself. You stop shrinking your goals to make others comfortable. And in that moment, something dangerous is born. Self-trust. Self-trust doesn't come from praise. It comes from commitment without witnesses, from showing up when no one is clapping, from choosing discipline over motivation. Motivation depends on emotion. Discipline depends on identity. And identity is built in silence. Think about this carefully. If everyone supported you from day one, you'd never know how strong you are. You'd never learn to stand alone. You'd never develop the mental resilience required to survive pressure. Zero support forces you to develop an internal backbone. It teaches you to rely on your standards, not opinions, your process, not validation. This is why the beginning feels so heavy. You are carrying both the dream and the doubt. You're doing the work and fighting the voice in your head at the same time. That inner conflict is exhausting, but it's also training. Training your mind to move forward even when it's scared. Training your will to act without reassurance. Understand this. The people who succeed without support develop something rare. They don't break when applause disappears because they were never fueled by it. They don't collapse when criticism comes because they learned to survive silence first. They become internally driven, and that kind of drive is unstoppable. If you stay until the end of this video, you'll gain something most people never do. You'll learn how to turn isolation into strength, how to build belief when no one gives it to you, and how to keep moving forward when the world gives you nothing back. That knowledge doesn't just motivate you. It changes how you see yourself, because success doesn't start when people believe in you. It starts when you decide you don't need them to. When you understand that success often begins without support, the next question becomes uncomfortable but necessary. Why does this happen so often? Why do people disappear right when you need them most? Why does belief from others feel so rare at the exact moment you decide to change your life? The answer is not that you lack value. It's that human nature is wired to avoid uncertainty. Most people don't support ideas, they support outcomes. They don't invest in potential, they invest in proof. And in the beginning, all you have is belief, effort, and an unfinished vision. That makes others nervous. Psychologically, people are drawn to safety. They follow what already works. They trust what already has approval. When you step into something new, you represent risk. And when people see risk, they instinctively pull back, not because they doubt you, but because they doubt themselves. Your courage reminds them of the chances they never took. This is why your growth can create distance. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something uncommon. You're moving while others are standing still. You're questioning limits they've already accepted. And instead of joining you, they protect their comfort by staying where they are. Understanding this changes everything. It removes the personal pain from the experience. It stops you from internalizing rejection that was never about you in the first place. When people don't support your journey, they are often revealing their own fears, not your flaws. Another truth that's hard to swallow is this. Early support can be misleading. Praise can make you dependent. Approval can weaken your internal drive. When someone is always cheering, you start performing for them instead of building for yourself. And the moment that support disappears, so does your momentum. But when you build without encouragement, you develop a different kind of strength. You learn to self-regulate. You learn to push forward without emotional rewards. You stop chasing reassurance and start chasing progress. This rewires your brain. It shifts you from external motivation to internal discipline. Discipline is quiet. It doesn't feel exciting. It doesn't feel inspiring every day, but it's reliable. It shows up even when emotions don't. And when no one is watching, discipline becomes your greatest ally. It turns small actions into long-term identity. This is where most people quit, not because they're incapable, but because they misread the signs. They see lack of support as a signal to stop, when in reality it's a signal to focus, to sharpen, to commit deeper, to prove to themselves, not to others, that they are serious. Every time you choose to continue without validation, you are strengthening your self-respect. You are telling your nervous system that you can be trusted, that you don't need permission to grow, that your vision doesn't require consensus to be real. Over time, something shifts inside you. You stop talking about your plans. You stop explaining your goals. You let your actions speak quietly. This silence isn't weakness. It's control. It protects your energy. It keeps your mind clear. It allows you to build without interference. Remember this. Support is not absent because you are unworthy. It's absent because the path you're on demands self-reliance first. And those who learn to stand alone early develop a level of confidence that can't be taken away later. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are in the phase where strength is being installed. And once it's built, nothing can shake it. When you stop looking outward for support, something subtle begins to change inside you. The noise fades. The need to be understood weakens. And in that quiet space, a new voice starts to grow, your own. This is where real authority is formed, not from being followed, but from being grounded. Most people confuse confidence with personality. They think you either have it or you don't. But confidence is built the same way muscles are built, through resistance, through repetition, through choosing to act even when fear is present. And when you're unsupported, resistance is everywhere. Doubt becomes your training partner. Every time you keep your promise to yourself, your brain records it. Every completed task, every disciplined decision, every moment you choose progress over comfort sends a signal deep into your nervous system. That signal says, I can trust myself. And trust is the foundation of authority. This is why external validation becomes dangerous. When your confidence depends on praise, it collapses the moment praise disappears. But when your confidence is built on evidence, it grows stronger in silence. Evidence doesn't come from opinions. It comes from action, from consistency, from showing up when it would be easier to disappear. There will be days when motivation is gone, days when the effort feels pointless, days when progress feels invisible. This is where identity matters. When you don't feel like working, you don't negotiate with your emotions. You act according to who you've decided to become. Identity-based action is powerful because it removes the question of how you feel. Instead of asking, do I feel inspired? You ask, what would someone committed do right now? That shift changes behavior. It turns discipline into a default response. Over time, discipline stops feeling heavy. It becomes normal. It becomes part of who you are. With this comes emotional independence. You stop reacting to people's moods. You stop measuring your worth through attention. You become steady, calm, focused. This inner stability makes you dangerous in the best way, because you are no longer easily distracted or discouraged. Authority also means responsibility. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop waiting for ideal conditions. You understand that control begins with your choices, even in chaos, especially in chaos, when life feels uncertain. Those who can regulate themselves move ahead while others freeze. Silence plays a role here. When no one is watching, you have nothing to prove. That removes pressure. It allows honest work. No performance, no comparison, just progress. And progress compounds quietly until one day it becomes undeniable. People often underestimate this phase because it lacks drama. But this is where resilience is formed, where patience is built, where the mind learns to endure discomfort without panic. This endurance becomes your edge. As you continue, you may notice a strange shift. You don't crave recognition the way you used to. You don't need to explain your choices. You become selective with your energy. This is not arrogance. It's clarity. You know what you're building, even if no one else does. And that knowing creates a calm certainty. Not loud, not flashy, but unshakable. The kind of certainty that carries you through setbacks without collapsing. The kind that allows you to keep moving forward, even when the path is lonely. This is inner authority. And once it's built, it doesn't disappear. It becomes the core strength that supports everything you create next. Once inner authority is built, isolation stops feeling like a punishment and starts feeling like an advantage. What once felt empty now feels focused. The absence of noise becomes clarity. When you no longer depend on external voices, your mind has space to think deeply, to see patterns, and to move with intention. Most people are constantly influenced by opinions, by trends, by expectations they never chose. Their energy is scattered because their attention is divided. But when you walk alone, your attention sharpens. You begin to see what actually matters. You stop reacting and start deciding. Solitude removes comparison, and comparison is one of the greatest thieves of momentum. When you're not measuring your progress against others, you move at your own pace. You stop rushing. You stop doubting every step. You build according to your standards, not someone else's timeline. This is where focus becomes powerful. Without distractions, your effort compounds faster. Your mind learns to stay with a task longer. Your tolerance for boredom increases, and boredom is not weakness. It's a gateway to mastery. Those who can stay present through repetition develop skills others abandon too early. Isolation also strengthens decision-making. When you're not constantly seeking approval, you learn to trust your judgment. You accept responsibility for outcomes. Both wins and losses become teachers instead of emotional events. This emotional maturity allows you to recover faster and adapt quicker. Pressure plays a role here. When you have no safety net, you become resourceful. You learn to solve problems instead of escaping them. Pressure forces you to grow beyond comfort. It demands creativity. It demands courage. And it reveals capabilities you didn't know you had. This is why struggle often precedes clarity. When things are easy, there's no reason to reflect. But when you're challenged, your mind sharpens. You question habits. You refine strategy. You eliminate what doesn't serve you. This process strips away excess and leaves behind precision. Pain, when processed correctly, becomes fuel. It focuses you. It gives weight to your actions. Instead of weakening you, it grounds you. You stop chasing shallow rewards and start building something meaningful, something that lasts. As you continue using isolation as a tool, your presence changes. You move with intention. You speak less, but with purpose. You don't rush to be seen. You let results introduce you. This quiet confidence is rare, and rarity creates influence. Eventually, people may begin to notice. Not because you announced your progress, but because it's visible. And when that happens, you'll understand something important. The solitude you once resented protected you. It kept your vision pure. It allowed you to grow without distortion. This phase builds self-respect. You learn that you can survive uncertainty, that you can create structure in chaos, that you can move forward without guarantees. These realizations change how you approach life. Fear loses its grip. Risk becomes manageable. Isolation is not the absence of connection. It's the presence of direction. It's the space where discipline deepens and clarity sharpens. And those who learn to use it don't just succeed. They become self-led. What once felt like being alone becomes standing apart. And that difference changes everything. Standing apart eventually leads to something inevitable: results. And results change the rules of the game. Not because they make you better than others, but because they make your belief unshakable. When you've built yourself without support, success doesn't surprise you. It confirms what you already knew. This is the moment many people misunderstand. They think success brings confidence. In reality, confidence was built long before success arrived. Success simply exposes it. By the time progress becomes visible, your mindset has already been forged through doubt, silence, and persistence. Something else happens here. The same people who once questioned you may begin to acknowledge you. The same world that ignored you may start paying attention. But because you learn to move without approval, attention no longer controls you. You don't depend on it. You don't chase it. You decide how much access it gets. This is the power of self-made belief. It cannot be taken away, because it was never given. It was earned through consistency, through discipline, through choosing to continue when quitting would have been easier and more socially acceptable. At this stage, you operate differently. You don't need constant reassurance. You don't panic under pressure. You've already survived the hardest part, moving forward when nothing was guaranteed. That experience builds emotional immunity. Setbacks no longer define you, they inform you. You also become selective, with your time, with your energy, with your commitments. You understand that not every opportunity is worth your focus. Not every voice deserves your attention. This clarity protects your progress and preserves your momentum. There is a quiet pride that comes from knowing you didn't borrow belief from anyone, that you didn't wait to be saved, that you built structure when there was none. This pride isn't loud. It doesn't need to announce itself. It sits calmly beneath your actions, guiding your decisions. People often assume those who succeed alone are cold or distant. But the truth is different. They simply learned boundaries early. They learned that strength grows when it's tested. That independence is not isolation, but alignment with purpose. When challenges appear, and they will, you don't collapse. You've already faced uncertainty. You've already walked without support. You know how to regulate yourself, how to stay grounded, how to respond instead of react. And perhaps the most important shift is this: you stop fearing the absence of support. You understand it as a phase, not a flaw. A phase that built your resilience. A phase that sharpened your focus. A phase that taught you how to trust yourself when no one else did. Success doesn't mean everyone suddenly believes in you. It means you no longer need them to. It means you move with certainty, regardless of external noise. It means you are self-led. If you're still in the stage where no one sees you, where encouragement is rare and doubt feels heavy, understand this clearly. You are not lost. You are being prepared. The solitude, the silence, the pressure are not punishments. They are training. Those who succeed with zero support don't just reach goals. They become grounded, resilient, and free. And once you've built yourself that way, nothing in the world can truly stop you.